Hi, you beautiful people, you beautiful New Zealanders, not Aotearoa rights. We live in New Zealand. The main language is English, not Te Reo, and that's how we want to keep it. Hey, this morning I want to just have a very brief break away from tikanga. There's much more to say about tikanga that we need to know. But this morning I want to dedicate a video to a very special book that's just been released. It's called Who Really Broke the Treaty by Dr. John Robinson. Now, he is without a doubt New Zealand's best historian. He's the most reputable, he's the most accurate, he's the most articulate, and he's the most well-researched of all the historians in New Zealand, in my view, at the moment. He's had a background working for government, and he's a statistician. He's a researcher, he has a doctorate, and he's very, very, very clever. Now, I know that Trost Publishing was targeted by Television New Zealand and TV3 to try and shut them down because they did not want to get any books from Trost Publishing out there. They wanted to suppress and destroy Trost Publishing, because Trost Publishing is the publishing company that is publishing books that are trustworthy and are telling the truth about New Zealand and its situation. So this book by John Robinson, this latest one, it's only just come out, is talking about who broke the treaty. Now, what we have in the media in New Zealand for the last many, many years is all the breaches of the treaty. In fact, the Treaty of Waitangi Act 1975 was set up to investigate so-called breaches of the treaty. And since 1975, all we've heard about, in fact, really from way beyond that, all we've heard about is how the Crown, that's the government, has broken the treaty, breached the treaty, not honouring the treaty, and on it goes. And John Robinson wanted to actually research the treaty, research New Zealand's history, and find out, well, who really broke this treaty? And you'll find out what John says, but I can tell you the basic guts of it is that the Crown has kept the treaty to the letter, and it's actually Maori who breached the treaty. And he goes into detail about how they've done it, when they did it, and why it's Maori who've breached the treaty. So the whole gravy train is going to be demolished by this book. And I know that this is probably, in my view, one of the most important books that's ever been released in New Zealand. And I'll put the address where you can actually get this book. By the way, I have no financial interest in Trost Publishing. They don't pay me anything for the books that you get off their website. Nothing at all. I'm doing this because I want every single New Zealander to read this book. It's going to help our cause go forwards, and the cause of stopping apartheid, stopping separatism, stopping racism, stopping the Maorification of New Zealand, stopping the gravy train, stopping everything that is destroying this country. And so I want you to get this book. I want you to read it, please. And I want you to send a link to this video to every single person you know on your address book. We have to get this out to everyone, everywhere. This is not a money-making exercise. As I've said, this is an exercise to make New Zealanders aware of the seriousness of the fraud that's going on in New Zealand right now. And this book is going to absolutely be a game changer. So, like I say, I'll put the web address where you can actually get this from Trost Publishing. You can buy it directly from them, and that would be a very, very good investment, and it would help New Zealand. It would help this country from being destroyed. All right, thank you so much. So what I want you to do is have a look at Trost Publishing. There's the address at the very top of the page, trostpublishing.com. There's the book. You can order it from there by clicking on it, Who Really Broke the Treaty, the one on the left-hand side. But in the meantime, if you want to know what TV1 did to Trost Publishing to try and destroy it, just watch the video that follows now. and you'll get the full story from Andy Oakley.
TROS has been around more than a decade or so and publishes a variety of books. Mostly they're about New Zealand history, and there are also some environmental books and even children's books in there as well. I have 2 books published by TROS, both of which are shown many times throughout this example of gutter press on Television 1 News. So my name and face have been plastered all over this nonsense. Now, the government are no doubt upset that some of the books published by TROS question the government's separatist agenda. Instead, the authors want Article 3 of the Treaty of Waitangi upheld. That is, that we have a country where there is an equal standard of citizenship, a country that is operated as a proper democracy. These principles, an equal standard of citizenship and democracy, are hardly controversial in most countries. However, increasingly in New Zealand, we're becoming a totalitarian state where woke leaders are heading towards an apartheid system of governance. When those things begin to happen in a country, often it's the writers and the thinkers who stand up first. The authors at TROS are from both sides of the political divide and believe that they have a free right to expression. Now, I became aware that the attack was coming throughout the week as I was forwarded a number of emails where Television 1 were making threats. So if I just grab a highlighter here, we just see here, this is an email from November 25th from Aniwa Huri Hanganui from Television New Zealand. She says, "Hi there, my name's Te Anawa and I'm a journalist with TV New Zealand's 1 News. I'm looking for a contact for John Robinson, the author of the book He Puapua, Blueprint for Breaking Up New Zealand. Do you have an email address for him by any chance?" There's a bit of a typo there. All the best, Te Anawa. But the response comes from TROS. "We would need to know further information as to your reasons for wanting to contact Dr. Robinson. He would be prepared to discuss this important issue openly as long as he be accorded fair treatment by your media outlet." Now, this is important, this part here, as long as he be accorded fair treatment by your media outlet. Let's get rid of that. All right. In response to that email on Tuesday, November 30th, 10:15 a.m, Te Aniwa responds, "Hi there, I'd like to interview or get a written response from a representative of TROS Publishing rather than Dr. Robinson as originally requested." So she's changed her mind. So fairness is obviously something that she's not interested in. She's not going to take up that offer. So she now wants to talk to a representative of TROS Publishing. She said, "I've been in touch with a few members of the public." Right? She has been in touch with a few members of the public who have raised concerns about the content in the book I mentioned below and other books published by your company. So below, she was just only interested in the book she mentioned, He Puapua by John Robinson. They believe, we've got to figure out later how many people these are, right? Because it matters. This is a story on the largest network news station in the country. They believe some of the books are anti-Maori, promote harmful views and falsehoods. They, again, are highly critical of the fact that many are sold in popular bookstores such as Paper Plus. And she goes on, so is there someone from the company who would like to respond to these criticisms? It would be great to receive a response or to speak to someone about these matters today if possible. So this is what's very important here, is because this is a national story, we want to know how many people don't like what's written in these books or in this specific book by He Puapua by John Robinson. Well, the next email that Te Anawa sends, remember she's sending this email on behalf of Television New Zealand, as she said it on Thursday, December 2nd, 2021. She says, and it's directed to TROS Publishing, "Hi again, this is Te Anawa here from TVNZ's 1 News. I wrote to you last week to ask for an interview, but you declined. If you remember, that's not what happened. They asked to talk to John Robinson. He said he would respond to an interview as long as it was fair, and then they changed their minds and said, we don't want to speak to John Robinson anymore. We want a representative from Tross Publishing. So that's not what happened. She's telling lies in this email. Then she goes on to make a threat. This email is to let you know that we are planning to run a story alleging that the books published by Tross Publications are described as untrue, false, hateful, disgusting and anti-Maori. So they're talking about all the books here. They said the books published by Tross Publishing. So they're talking about my books as well. They're making threats against the publishing company and the authors for the words written in books. And we're imagining here that they're all of them, because they didn't single them out. They did at the beginning. They singled out John Robinson's book, Te Puapua. So she goes on to say, we're planning to broadcast the views of some members of the public. Again, we're really interested in who these some members of the public are, because this is a national news story going to be broadcast on the country's largest news platform. So it better be some important people, and there better be a lot of them. So we just begin that again. We're planning to broadcast the views of some members of the public who say that the books should not be sold in bookstores. Right, so they don't even think that these books should be in bookstores. Please let us know by 12 p.m. tomorrow if you have any response.
Hateful and untrue. That's how educators have described books by Wellington-based company Tross Publishing after stumbling across them in mainstream bookshops. Now there are calls for shop owners to think carefully before stocking them. Māori Affairs reporter Te Aniwa Huri Hanganui reports.
A recent trip to her local Paper Plus left English literature teacher Brittany Rose reeling.
I found Tross Publications. I don't know, I just sort of set up a few red flags for me. So I looked closer and it was disgusting.
Well, we've got one person so far who finds the books disgusting. Brittany Rose, an English teacher. Now, I Googled her and all I could find out was that she's an enthusiastic teacher, and I'd certainly agree with that, perhaps even too enthusiastic. But a relative unknown member of the public. So we have one person who finds the books disgusting. Now, she's quite entitled to have a view. I don't mind that she finds some things written in books disgusting. She's entitled to her opinion, but who really cares? Why does TV1 News and Te Anō care what this one person, thinks? It appears to me that TV1 News have sought her out, asked her to comment, and then are making it appear that because this one person thinks that some books are disgusting, that they have the right to attack the publishing company and the authors. Is one person's view a reason to make a national news broadcast on the nation's largest news platform? Of course it's not. I believe that the impetus to carry out this attack comes from the government. They obviously don't like it when people attack their policies and reports. The He Puapua report is a government paper that effectively takes ownership of water out of the council's hands, or 50% of it anyway, and transfers it to 4 new regional water agencies, 50-50 co-governed by iwi. So water ownership becomes yet another race-based model cooked up by the government. Yet wild-eyed Brittany calls the people who are against racist legislation disgusting and anti-Māori. And these are the people teaching our children. Many of the councils in New Zealand are totally against this, but we don't see One News doing exposés on councils. Actually, the words on the screen now, disgusting, perfectly describes what One News and Te Anō are up to.
Pages and pages warning of the dangers of a so-called greedy tribal elite and descriptions of early Māori as savages saved by colonisation.
And it just struck me as incredibly insensitive, ill-informed and damaging. It's not at all what we should be having on the shelves of our bookstores.
Okay, what we just saw on the screen were the words "end to savage warfare," but Te Anō suggested that the authors called Māori savages. She just made that up. Saying that all the authors call Māori savages is just a lie. TV1 New Zealand are just making things up and spreading lies about people. This is the standard of news that we get these days, and it's no wonder people are turning it off in droves. Brittany thinks that to write about New Zealand's history is incredibly insensitive. Look, I don't think Brittany Rose understands New Zealand's history at all. She isn't aware that between 1800 and 1840 that there were approximately 622 intertribal wars, big ones, where between a third and a half of the population of New Zealand were killed. And if anyone writes about these battles, including referencing the history books written by the people at the time, which are all features of the TROS books, Brittany Rose states that it's incredibly insensitive. Instead, she wants to make up lies and half-truths about our history. And again, I don't have a problem that Brittany Rose has weird thoughts about what our real history was. She's entitled to her opinion. We have a big problem in New Zealand, though, when the national news station starts broadcasting her views, one person's, as if they are the dominant view. I mean, that's just wrong.
Academic is equally disgusted.
I would hate for my daughters to stumble across some bookstores, but on the other hand, I would like for them to be prepared to realise this for what it is, which is just hate material, really.
Daniel Hikuroa, another teacher. He's the second person who states that he's disgusted. Look, there are 5 million people in New Zealand, and TV1 News have found 2 people who don't like the books. He thinks that they're hate material. And again, I don't mind that he doesn't like what is written in books. People are entitled to their opinions. There are many books that I think are disgusting too, but I don't expect that the national news station should call the authors names and attack anyone who sells them and try to get the books banned.
Initially, TROS Publishing told me by email it doesn't engage with mainstream media and declined an interview. Later, the company wrote to TVNZ's CEO, but not to me. One of the authors, John Robinson, said he rejected the untrue charges made against TROS Publishing, calling the claims ridiculous and saying he believes in equality, decency and accuracy. The company also wrote to the Broadcasting Minister, calling my request for comment intimidating and threatening defamation action.
That's not correct. She just said that TROS initially declined to be interviewed. If you recall, first Te Anua wanted to interview John Robinson, one of the authors. And when TROS wrote back, as long as he is accorded fair treatment, it was Te Anua then that declined to go ahead. It was her that was not prepared to accord Robinson fairness, and then she changed her mind and wanted to have a go at TROS instead. So I'm not surprised that TROS threatened defamation. This is the email that she sent out on December 2nd. Just look at this. This email is to let you know that we're planning to run a story running a story that alleges that the books published by TROS are described by who? 2 people. 2 people described the books as untrue, false, hateful, disgusting, and anti-Maori. That warranted a national news story, apparently. She said, we're planning to broadcast the views of some members of public. 2 teachers who say that the book should not be sold in mainstream bookstores. Well, they did more than that. They published the bookstores' names and put that all over the story as well, that we'll see in a minute.
He has been publishing books that condemn things like treaty settlements and the Waitangi Tribunal for years, and they're still being sold by big franchises.
Okay, so here's some more threats by TV1 News and Television New Zealand. This time they are threatening Whitcoulls and Paper Plus. They're trying to make out that they're selling books that are disgusting, hateful and anti-Maori. Look, the books aren't anti-Maori at all. And if they were, they would be able to show the passages that were anti-Maori. Some of the books are against race-based legislation, separatism and bad government policies. And apparently, though, according to TV1 New Zealand, selling books that disagree with government legislation, such as the Treaty of Waitangi Act, warrants publishing lies and attacking the bookstores that sell these books. This whole national news story is fake news, lies and opinions. There's no substance to any of this gutter press.
This book, the latest in its collection, says the He Puapua report will divide the country. He Puapua is a plan to help the government live up to commitments made to the United Nations.
He Puapua is a document that's designed to give life to the treaty. They call on half-truths and then outright lies.
He Puapua is not a document designed to give life to the treaty at all. It's a document that suggests that iwi, whoever that is, will undemocratically control New Zealand's water. And the New Zealand government does not need to live up to any commitments that we made to the United Nations. That is just more outright lies by TV1 News and half-truths by Daniel Hikarua.
The vision of Te Puapua is just, and Māori just want to live in Aotearoa in dignity.
There are calls for stores selling the books to promote balance.
What really disturbed me about this was that it was the idea that freedom of speech is about being able to have any opinion and go unchallenged.
Or rethink whether they sell them at all.
Maybe it's about the purchasers who may wish to buy or not buy these things.
The books have been seen on the shelves at both Paper Plus and Whitcoulls, but both deflected our queries. In a statement, Paper Plus told One News it doesn't support racially charged views and says it doesn't buy from Tross Publishing centrally. Whitcoulls says it doesn't have a trading account with the company. We've asked for clarification as to why the books can be purchased at both stores. Te Aniwa Hurihanganui, One News.
Quite why they have used an old clip of the Separatist Race Relations Commissioner Meng Foon to attack a publishing company is beyond me, except to say that he would probably be a book burner. Like Brittany Rose, Television One and Daniel Hikarua, they do not tolerate opinions other than their own. And here we have Daniel Hikarua saying maybe it's about the purchasers. So he's insinuating that people who buy these books are racist. And Brittany Rose says the idea that freedom of speech is about being able to have an opinion unchallenged. It's obvious that these two people do not tolerate opinions of others. So there you have it. That's how Television One News uses the $50 million that the New Zealand government handed to it. A collaboration of threats and made-up stories about any organisation that dares to publish dissenting views about what their government are doing, their reports and their policies. The two people they found to complain from our 5 million population couldn't actually tell you what the lies were or exactly what was disgusting. They just insinuated that the publisher and the authors were racist. They insinuated the bookstores were racist and that the purchasers were racists too. That's all $50 million gets you, I'm afraid. A young girl, some allegations, some name-calling. This is truly gutter press by the Television New Zealand and the government, who are obviously using them to get their race-based and separatist programs accepted by the New Zealand public. They're using indoctrination. Surely, though, the public will see through this. Just two people, both of them teachers, which is what I've come to expect in recent years. It's them who want to reinvent New Zealand's history because it's a bit sensitive. It's them who want race-based policies from our increasingly totalitarian government. The inexperienced Te Aniwa was taught by teachers like Rose and Hikuroa. She's a separatist. Hikuroa teaches at Waikato University, a cauldron of separatism. Meng Foon is a separatist and believes that he speaks for all Māori. The reality, though, is that most Māori can't stand him. I'm calling for the New Zealand public, Māori and non-Māori alike, to stand up against these corporations that are trying to divide us. We are Kiwis. We should be proud of our history, all of it. We should be proud that from 1840, when the different tribes and the colonists came together to forge our way ahead as a nation, we intermarried. I mean, my son's a Māori. And by the 1950s, we had the highest standard of living in any country in the world. I'm not sure that teachers like Hikuroa and Rose would teach you that, though. And sadly, that's precisely why Te Aniwa doesn't know it. We had about 70% home ownership right through to about the mid-1970s, and that's when these Marxists began to get into politics. And it's on their watch that Māori have become a broken people. They were fine before that period. That's who the authors of Tross are standing up for, the broken Kiwis, the poor Māori who have allowed their corrupt leaders to take advantage of them. I mean, they tell them that they're useless. They tell them that they'll never make it in a white man's world. Look, New Zealand isn't a white man's world, and it never has been, and it never will be. We are New Zealanders, and we need to stand up against these Marxists.
So what I want you to do is have a look at Tross Publishing. There's the address at the very top of the page, trosspublishing.com. There's the book. You can order it from there by clicking on it. Who Really Broke the Treaty, the one on the left-hand side. But in the meantime, if you want to know what TV1 did to Tross Publishing to try and destroy it, just watch the video that follows now and you'll get the full story from Andy Oakley.